All right. Well, we thought we were close. Apparently, no suspect at hand or one arrested. They might be close, or they might have arrested somebody, but certainly they're not saying it right now. But that does raise the issue. Who do they arrest? Who would it be? Judge Andrew Napolitano here. It really does depend on that person and the nationality of that person. Judge, explain, because that could decide where that suspect goes.
It wouldn't depend on their nationality. It would depend on their affiliation. Because a person affiliated with and under the control of a paramilitary organization with foreign roots would be a candidate for a dispatch to Guantanamo Bay.
So just being Saudi Arabian, let's say, doesn't necessarily mean...
Oh, no, absolutely not. To the contrary. If whoever this person is will initially receive the full panoply of constitutional protections that any American would. Why? Because the Constitution protects persons. It doesn't limit its protection to Americans. If the President of the United States determines that this was a military or military-like operation directed by a foreign power, either a foreign government or Al-Qaeda or something like that, as Wayne Simmons just suggested to you, the President would have the option under Bush-era legislation to send that person to Guantanamo Bay for a military tribunal. If that is not the case, and most respectfully, it appears that that is not the case thus far, then that person would go through the same unremarkable, ordinary, routine criminal justice procedures that anybody would in the federal courts in the United States of America.
All right. So for an American, it would be the American courts.
Even a foreigner not controlled by a foreign paramilitary organization.
But wouldn't we more than likely attach to a foreigner, particularly a Muslim, just calling a spade here, other affiliations, even if at first blush they're not there?
Here's why I don't think that would happen. First, that decision would be made by the Attorney General personally after consulting with the President. President Obama has sent 0 people to Guantanamo Bay since he's been President of the United States, perhaps because of his personal objection to Guantanamo Bay, perhaps because of this. The military has tried 3 people in Gitmo since 9/11. All 3 were convicted. All 3 were released after conviction for time served. The federal courts have tried over 51 people. All 51 were convicted. All 51 were sentenced to jail terms for between 20 years to life in prison. The federal courts are far more efficient, again, most respectfully to my colleagues in the military justice system, far more efficient than the military tribunals in Guantanamo Bay.
I just have a feeling if it's someone affiliated with Al-Qaeda or the Taliban, what have you, it risks being a farce. That's my fear. That the judicial process, could be farcical.
That is a fear that animated the drafters of legislation in the George W. Bush administration, which is why we have this option for the president. But for those 51 cases that were tried here, and a lot of them were low-level people, though some of them did get life sentences, the farce did not happen. The trials were real. Many of these were guilty pleas.
All right.
If he is charged or she is charged or they are charged with a capital crime, they can only be sentenced to death by a jury. They cannot be sentenced to death by a judge. So if they plead guilty, they still have to have a trial on what the punishment should be, execution or life in prison, because only a jury can impose execution.
And that's leaving aside the possibility of co-conspirators and lots of people coming.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
Judge, thank you very, very much.
Right.
You know, it is sort of searching a needle through a